when it comes to CityGas and gas in general, distribution, technology also plays a lot in terms of distribution and generation of gas. How can some of the solutions providers here help us give an insight into some of the technologies being developed actually to drive the market, drive competition in the market?
Maybe what we will just to throw where CityGas play our market segment, that would give a flavor of how we see the growth would be. It's a very small one in terms of pipe gas, going by Tun Swan's definition. The other competition inside there is of course electricity.
Yeah, interview competition.
Interview, cylinder gas, and then pipe gas. So over the last few years, we have looked at it on a broader basis, and where we are, about 42% of our sales is actually in the residential, about 50 or more is in the commercial sector, and then the remaining is in the industrial side. Yeah. So we are still quite heavy on the commercial side, and commercial very competitive. Well, residential, because consumer, the gas piece of the whole bill is fairly small. Yeah. So I think the challenge for us, CityGas see probably a lot of potential in the residential side, in a sense. There's a lot of scope. I think in one of the areas that we see ourselves is that probably gas in the whole chain with electricity for appliances that we can replace, we are greener.
So yeah. That's a very interesting issue, because I mean, just looking at what's happening in the UK and Europe, the whole electric versus gas argument is a very, very strong one at the moment, and there is a real fear actually. I say it's a fear, but I think that there are scenarios which are very strongly upheld, which suggest that gas distribution particularly will dwindle significantly over the next 10 to 20 years as the government supports a more electric future. So power generation followed by electricity transmission and distribution is seen to be a more likely scenario than gas distribution. So I guess that has to be part of the weighted argument, is the future electric? Because in the UK, for example, there's been a decision made to move towards electric vehicles, which means a massive upgrading of the electricity system. And zero carbon homes, which means no gas supply to people's homes, and that means that the distribution network is potentially under threat. And that's not just the UK, but I think Europe as well. Some parts of Europe are looking in similar directions. But there's a lot of green arguments in favour of gas as opposed to electricity as well. And there's a lot of new appliances. I mean, the technology argument, I mean, some of the small distributed generation appliances, which potentially are a lot greener than electricity in many ways, and particularly when you look at transmission losses. Okay, Singapore's a relatively small island, but still, transmission generation, there's a lot of efficiency losses. So there's a big argument to be made for gas versus electricity, I think, as well as just whether the conversion program takes place. It's what does the future look like in the wider sense. So I think it's a question Singapore will probably have to face as well, particularly considering how technologically advanced Singapore tends to be. It tends to be often ahead of the rest of the world in terms of implementation of technology. And smart networks and smart grids are a part of the future. Yeah.
Robert, actually this interesting point about carbon green. The interview competition on electricity and gas, I think, play out in different part of the world. But I personally always say, you may think at the customer endpoint, you may think certain things. They think the electricity maybe they will argue is more efficient or even safer. But I would say, how does the power production come about? Are they clean? Right? If you fire out from combined cycle gas turbine, relatively clean. Okay? If I have a coal fire, you really want to trace the carbon footprint. That's no good, right? But people tend to ignore this argument, right? But I think the gas guy will always play this. CityGas start to advertisement about eco-friendly, less carbon. I took that slide. I went to Taipei in a conference. I flagged it out. I showed how the gas guy can market, because you are right. You are more eco-friendly. Compared. Of course, if somebody produce power for hydro, then you have to keep quiet for a little while. And you have to be careful which market you are and which argument you want to use.
Yes.
But for CityGas as a whole, whether you are manufactured gas or whether it's natural gas, to continue to grow a market out beside what we call power generation, and to have a good chance to fight with electricity, is really to grow the utilization. I mean, there's no brainer about it. The old day when you supply the pipe gas to the house, you don't want it to use for cooking and heating.
Yeah.
You want them to use gas heater. They double the volume right away, and for the same investment, you double the volume.
Yeah.
If they're going for gas dryer,
Yes.
that's better still. It triple the the demand, So, but that isn't dominant. Then of course, at one time, NGV is very big. Then suddenly we had this argument about electric vehicle is better. Then I asked the same question. Where does the electricity come from? Are they from coal power plant, or they are from a nuclear plant, a hydro plant, gas plant? Oil? Then really you can put the equation right to compare carbon footprint. Then the gas have a good argument to find some of these inter-fuel competition. That's my view.
You can do that analysis to see what the carbon footprint
Yes,
is, but
you
you also need to do the analysis to see what the cost of that, of reducing that carbon footprint is. And if you look at electric vehicles versus NGVs, I think you'll find the cost of reduction of carbon for electric vehicles is a lot more than the cost of reduction of carbon for NGVs. And that has to be factored into the equation as well. And that's going to be different depending on your generation mix, and it's going to be different depending on your market. All of these things have to be seen as challenges in terms of making some sort of longer term decisions.